Hello there everyone and welcome to a new review on the channel. And today we're looking at a very debated product, both on the positives and negative sides of the spectrum, and that is The Fall by Noel Qualter. And I think that this is a product that merits its critiques, but also merits its praises. And I know there's a lot of debates and a lot of back and forth kind of war on this product, and I'm not going to be addressing any of the drama or any of that for that matter. I'm just going to be focusing on the product and giving you the more and the best information I can about The Fall and whether it's for you. So let's roll the intro and get straight into it. Perfect, so you decide to stick around, which means you want to learn more about The Fall. Now, what is The Fall? For starters, I just want to clarify that I won't be able to perform this here for you because I don't have spectators and I don't really have a setting where I can perform this for you live, but I will tell you how the effect will run every single time. So you would come out and you would take from your pocket or from your case a plastic bag just like this, or sellotape, whatever you want, and you introduce it to your spectators. They could examine it if you want, and you would have them hold it by the corner. So you'd have two spectators ideally for this. We're going to get into that regarding practicality, but you're going to have one spectator hold it from the two sides here and one spectator hold it from the two sides over there. So they would be holding that, and then you would introduce a deck of cards. You would riffle through and you would take out a random card, not a selected card, just a card. You'd be like, and we're going to use a card for this. Let's say here, the King of Diamonds, and you would place the King of Diamonds on the bag just like this that the spectators are holding just as so. You would then tell them that we're going to try and do something interesting here. And then you would ask if another spectator could join in and place their hand underneath the bag and ask the spectators to lower it. They're going to lower the bag and you're going to tell the spectator, perfect, just hold your hands just here underneath of the card. Because what we're going to do is we're going to try and make this card pass through the paper and land inside of your hand. You would then be able to take your hand like this. You would slap the card on top, and then it would fall through the paper inside of the spectator's hand. And that is essentially what the effect is. And I think if you've watched the trailer or the various debates on the product, you already have an idea of what this is. So that is what The Fall by Noel Qualter is. So where do you buy this? How much does it cost? And what do you get? So The Fall is available at most of your favorite magic dealers, whether it's Vanishing Ink, Penguin Magic, Alakazam, or anything in between. You'll be able to get The Fall there. It will set you back $40 US. And what you get is this kind of already standardized packaging in Magic, which is these magnetic hard-shelled box. Inside, you will get this plastic bag, which is purely given to you to start performing straight out of the box, but you can use Ziplocs or you can use other alternatives that they explain in the trailer, right? Then you also get inside of here, you get a small container that contains some special substance that is going to help you achieve the effect, as well as a special gimmick that will help you achieve the effect. And then you also get an additional set of gimmicks, which are cards. You're going to get 3 sets of cards that are going to let you perform the effect as intended and make it as easy as possible. So that is everything that you get on top of the tutorial video, which is around an hour and 5 minutes long. It's with Noel himself, and he goes through the history, how to practice the effect, how the effect works. It also has live performances of the effect. It goes over some troubleshooting tips and everything that you would expect from a trailer. And then it also has a bonus section kind of just thrown in the middle with Steve Faulkner that explains to you some of the ways that when he went out to perform it, he found out that he could get away with this easily and not be as afraid when performing this. So the tutorial video, in my opinion, is very good. It's well shot and it explains everything pretty thoroughly. By the end of it, I don't think you would ever have to go back to the video to learn how the effect works, which I think is always great, because I don't like those type of effects where, you know, in a month, if you don't perform it, you completely forgot how it works and you have to go revisit the tutorial. The tutorial has no timestamps whatsoever. You have to scroll to find where they're actually explaining it. So I like that once this tutorial is over, if you watch it in its entirety, you'll never have to actually relearn this effect. It will be instinctive to you. So that is everything that you get. So Before we continue the review, I do want to do this kind of miscellaneous category that I do sometimes where a product is debated and it has a lot of questions on social media and on forums, and answer some questions that I saw that haven't really got answered to or that got vague answers. So the first question that I saw a lot of people ask is, what about if my hands cannot work with the substance provided in this? Now, let me be clear here that I have the most sweaty hands out of pretty much anyone out there. Even when it's minus 40 outside here in Canada, my hands are fully wet and sweaty. So don't even question how sweaty my hands are when I go out to perform. And the substance provided here works on my hand. However, it doesn't work as intended. I have to play around with it in different ways than actually advocated in the tutorial. For example, in the tutorial, he shows you how you can start the effect with your hands empty and get into it with a really clever load of the gimmick onto your hand. However, I can't do that. My hands are too sweaty and it's never going to work. So for me, if I want to perform this, before I go to a table, maybe a minute or two before, I stick the gimmick where it has to be, and then I could go into doing this as a starter or an opener in kind of me performing this, right? So I can't do this on the fly, which is a negative for me, which means that I can't perform this in the middle of a card set. I have to do this as an opener to a table or as an opener to some spectators. I can't do this in the middle of the card set because for the gimmick to stay on my hand, it has to be there a minute or two before I actually start performing to be sure that it's not coming off, right? So I did want to mention that, is that even though you have sweaty hands or clampy hands, whatever, you'll be able to do this, but you will have to face a few drawbacks like myself. Second of all, I've seen people ask questions about, can you do this with a silent assistant? Can you do this with a PK ring? Can you do this with other devices such as those? And some people were unsure. They were like, probably you could do it. Maybe you can do it, but they haven't really tested it out. And I'm here to have tested this for you. I even bought a PK ring just for this effect because I thought that I could possibly do it, because I saw some people say, yeah, I think you could maybe do it with a PK ring. And unfortunately, you can't. You cannot do this with a silent assistant, and you cannot do this with a PK ring. It simply does not work. Because of the way the effect works, you will expose the entire method if you do it with certain things like that. So you are obliged to stick with what is provided to you in this packaging. So that's the second thing I wanted to address. And the last thing that I wanted to address is that some people say there's a major noise issue when performing this effect. And honestly, I don't find that there is, because it is covered by the bag. Maybe I'm doing it wrong or maybe I'm doing it right. But essentially for me, when spectators are holding the bag and I do the move and I tap, the bag does this like really kind of slap sound, right? That covers the noise of the gimmick and of the effect. So for me, that is not an issue, and I feel it is fully covered by the bag and by the reactions of the spectator. I don't think you hear it. Maybe if you're doing this in a library, people are going to hear it, but I still think that even then, the bag is going to cover most of the noise. So I just want to mention this as we continue the review so that you get an understanding of some of the things that are debated and I didn't see definitive answers online for. So what about difficulty? Let's talk about difficulty, another aspect that a lot of people are interested when talking about the fall. So is the fall difficult to perform? And the answer is it's not difficult, but it's not easy. It's an effect that you will have to practice. Even if you're a veteran magician, even if you're a professional magician, you will have to practice this a bit, right? No one is going to get away with just taking this, seeing the tutorial and going out to perform at the gigs. It just won't work. You will have to practice this and you will have to work this to work your angles, work your spectator management, which is a thing that you will have to work because you have to manage your spectators in order to manage the angles, in order to manage the way that the bag is held, which is the thing that I said I was going to address. Because if you do it with one spectator, the way they hold the bag is wrinkly. No spectator is going to be able to hold the bag perfectly on their own for you to be able to do this effect, which means that if you want to do this, you will need 2 spectators at the least, right? So keep that in mind. But again, you will have to manage your spectators to hold the bag correctly without telling them, hold it precisely like this, at this angle. exactly like that, right? Because then they're like, okay, but why? So you're gonna have to manage your spectators and how they hold the bag. You're gonna have to manage the spectators around you and where they're looking and how they're partaking in the effect. You're gonna have to talk to them, interact with them, misdirect them for certain moves. So you're gonna have to do all of that regarding audience management. Then in terms of handling, there's no slides per se, but there's two huge moves here that are gonna take that you think are never gonna work in the real world and that you will need you will never get away with, right? And Steve acknowledges that in the trailer. Noel says that as well in the instructional video, and by Steve in the trailer I mean in the actual tutorial, that he felt he was not going to get away with this and that it's not going to fly by and everyone is going to see it. But that's not the case. People are looking at the effect at the bag. They're not focused on the deck in your hands and they're not focused on your hand. They're focused on the card, on the bag, and when it falls through, their first instinct of any spectator is to inspect the card and inspect the bag. No one is going to want to be like, okay, it's cool that went through, but give me your deck or show me your hand, right? Their first instinct as any human will be the card and the bag. So that gives you enough time to do the cleanup you need for the effect. And in the get ready as well, they're going to be focused on the card, on the bag. They don't care about the deck. They won't care about it, right? So I think that even though those two moves at the start and at the end, like the get ready and the cleanup, will scare a few people, but I think that with some practice, you'll get away with it pretty well, and it's nothing too difficult, right? Nothing too difficult. And when they say the gimmicks do the work for you, they are right. The gimmicks do most of the work for you, but you do need to know how to use them, right? You're not just gonna take the gimmick and the gimmick is gonna fly off your hand and do the trick for you. Of course, the gimmicks help you in doing the trick in an easier fashion by eliminating the sleight of hand, but in doing so, you need to learn how to use and operate those gimmicks to achieve the end result. So I hope that was clear for everyone. And I hope that gave you some good insight. Moving on into the practicality. Is this effect practical to perform? So this is another debated topic, as is everything with this. So what will you need to carry around to do this? And what is the setup, cleanup, and what is the practicality? So for starters, you will have to carry around this bag, which is definitely, you're able to put this inside of your pocket, in your jacket, or anywhere you want. It's not a big bag. You just put this in your pocket and you can perform this at a moment's notice, or just put it in your case and you're ready to go. Then you will need a deck of cards. It's going to be a normal deck of cards, but you do need to set it up for this effect, which means that you will have to have the deck prepared. When you do this effect, you will need everything set up, and you will need to also have, whether you do it like me, you're going to have your gimmick prepared before you approach the table. And if you're able, and if you have hands that aren't super sweaty like Noel or like other people, you're going to be able to do the get ready, which means you're going to have your hands empty and you can just approach the table with a deck and your sellotape or your Ziploc and get into it with your hands empty. But for me, if I were to perform this, I would have to have the gimmick prepared on my hand, have the deck prepared, and then have the baggie ready to go. So the deck wise, once you're done with the routine, you will need to ditch the gimmicks. So that means that if you want to do, for example, a small set of tricks for an audience, and you want to do the fall as one of them, you're going to probably want to start with the fall. Then you're going to probably, when you're done, you're going to put the deck in your pocket. You're going to, do something else, maybe with some coins, maybe a packet trick, maybe something with some billets. And then if you want to close with another card trick that uses a normal deck of cards, you just remove the deck from your pocket, leaving the gimmicks in your pocket and performing. So you won't necessarily be able to do the fall and then directly go into pick a card, we're going to do something else, right? So you will have to kind of be wary of that, practicality wise. So if you want to do a set of card tricks and you can't have the gimmick like they teach you in the tutorial just be loaded while you're performing, you will have some issues regarding practicality that you won't be able to go into a routine with a deck of cards straight after the fall. However, if you are able to work with the gimmick, you may have certain ways to ditch everything super cleanly in order to go directly into another card effect, but I think it's not really possible. So I do think if you want to perform a set of 2 or 3 routines, and including the fall, you may have to find some workarounds with it. If you want to perform it at the start, your deck is going to need to be prepared, and then you're going to have to get rid of it in order to move into something else, right? So that you can ditch the gimmicks the second time you pull it out of your pocket. Apart from that, carrying wise, of course, it's not that much. You need your gimmick, the bag, and the deck. But again, as I mentioned, this is probably going to be a starting, an opener trick that you're going to do to a spectator, or just one trick. If you can only do one trick, this could probably be it and you'll get away with it, no problem. So now that I've mentioned all of that, which is tricky because I can't really expose everything, and I don't really want this video to be an hour long because I can talk about everything here. I can do like a deep dive into the fall. But I'm trying to give you the most succinct details as possible for you to understand the positives and the negatives of this. So having understood that, where do you perform this? So where would you perform the fall? So I feel that the fall can be performed anywhere where spectators can be standing up. You can not really do this standing down. You can get away with it. I did perform it once standing down, and it did work, but it didn't work as well as I wanted to. It's better if spectators are standing up, which means that this is very good to do in kind of walk around settings, maybe on the street, David Blaine style, just asking people on the street to hold it and do the trick, or maybe cocktails where people are moving, or meet and greets, or for example, if you're at an auction or something like that and people are walking around and standing up, or at those banquets where the tables are like chest high tables, so people are standing up when eating and drinking, and you're doing magic there, it's going to be really well, you're going to be able to do it really well because people are going to be holding the bag. If not, parlor or stage, you'll be able to do this, of course, because you can ask your spectators to stand up, which is going to let you perform the effect. But I don't think that walk around restaurant, so kind of maybe restaurant magic, I don't think this is going to play that well, because you're not going to ask your spectators while they're eating and enjoying their meal, can you please stand up? I want to show you something, and go into the fall, right? So you're going to have to be mindful of where you perform this as well. It's better for the spectator to be standing up. You can get away with it with the spectator seating, but I would be a bit more wary and a bit more careful as to the angles if you decide to perform it seating, because the spectator is holding the bag from this angle, like this, right? They could maybe see something right? Because if they're seating and you're on top and you have them hold the bag like this, they could maybe get a peek under the bag or something like that. And you will have to test that out for yourself and see how it works. I did it once and they didn't see anything, but I was scared that they were going to see anything. Maybe this is just magician thinking, but I would keep that in mind if you want to perform this for people that are sitting. You're going to be able to probably get away with it, but it's better if people are standing up. And I think that if someone catches it while everyone is standing up and you see it drop for a bit before landing in someone's hands is more impressive. So performance-wise, I think it's better if you find somewhere where you can perform with people sitting, but if not, you can maybe get away with it with people sitting down. So now that we had an extensive overview and analysis of the effect, let's get into the positives and the negatives. Let's start with the negatives of the fall. What are the negatives? The first negative is the gimmick that you have to attach onto your hand is going to be different for different people. It will attach to your hand no matter the clampiness, no matter how dry or how sweaty your hands are, but that means you'll have to play around with it. For example, for people like Noel and other performers, you're going to be able to start with your hands clean and attach the gimmick in performance while putting away the card box. For me, that is impossible, and for other people, that will be impossible, which means that you have to have the gimmick onto your hand before approaching the spectators, which for some is a negative, and to some is going to be a detriment. But you will have to adapt the routine. If you like it and you really love it and you want to do it, you'll have to adapt to your hands and to how everything works. Second of all, the fall is mostly an opener trick, in my opinion, or a one trick when you go to perform to someone, because it will take the place of certain cards in the deck of cards. Again, as I said, the cleanup is easy, right? You could get away with it, but you're not going to be able to load everything that you need to do the fall in the middle of their routine. So you can't open by doing a gambling routine or a magic routine or a red hot mama, and then directly from there have someone say, can you just hold this bag? There are ways to do it, don't get me wrong, right? By having the bag inside of your pocket, right? So let me just fold this up and show you. So by having the bag inside of your pocket, you could have the gimmick, the main gimmick on the bag, so that when you ask your spectator, okay, let me just get something from my pocket here, you go inside of your pocket with the deck and you add the gimmick onto the deck while you're bringing out the bag. You can definitely do that, okay? You can definitely do that. But again, do you want to? I think it's better to just do this directly, having everything set up and going into the routine. But there are ways around it, but I think most people are going to perform this straight out of the box as a one trick, as an opening trick. So I did want to mention that, as well as a possible negative for some. And the last negative for some is going to be that, you know, having this performed sitting down isn't as impactful as having it when your spectators are standing up. As I said, again, you can perform it standing down and your spectators standing down, but no matter what, you will have to be standing up, and the spectators you perform with too, they're gonna enjoy the effect more if they're standing up as well, right? They're gonna enjoy it probably the same if they're standing down, but to my magician brain and to my thinking, it's better done for them standing up. Even in the live performances, he does it only to people standing up. So keep that in mind, right? So for some people, they're not gonna be able to ask their spectators to stand up at a fancy restaurant while they're eating and while everyone is sitting down enjoying their meal, for spectators to be standing up and you smacking bags over their food. So keep that in mind as well. So that's all the negatives that I have. Now, what are the positives? The first positive is the instructional video. I really liked it. It goes through everything. It has really cool additions by Steve, which I think are really worth your while. You're getting everything that you need in the packaging. So everything is here except for a deck of cards matching the color of the gimmicks you ordered. But everything else is here, is provided to you, and it's good quality. Everything here is bicycle made, bicycle quality, and everything is well made, well packaged, and well produced. Third of all, the effect is good. I like the effect. It is good. I performed a set of effects, which are going to be the 3 effects I'm going to be reviewing this week after the fall, which you're going to see on the channel. I performed these 3 effects, and out of the 3, at the end, when I stopped performing, someone told me, that trick that you did with the bag, I just can't wrap my head around it. It was really, really interesting. It was really, really good. So out of the 3 effects that I performed, this is the one that people remembered the most. So I think that it has a good impact on spectators and it is fun. And I think that you don't have to downplay the impact that it's going to have on the spectators, because it just feels so fair and it's a really visual and interesting effect. And it, you know, it made me happy that I got that type of reaction from it. So those are the positives and those are the negatives. And that is everything I have to say about the fall. I know this is a long video, but this is a product that I really wanted to give you all the information necessary. So I hope that I gave you everything that you needed. If not, make sure to comment down below. But would I recommend the fall, and what do I rate it out of a scale from 1 to 10? So starting off, would I recommend the fall? I think that if after watching this video, after watching all of the videos that you've probably all watched during the drama phase of the effect, and you're still thinking that this is a product for you, then buy it. I think you're going to like it, you're going to enjoy it, and you're going to perform it. If after everything before, and after watching my own video on the fall, you're thinking, wow, I would never do this, it's a bad trick, it's not for me, then don't buy it. And I feel that I can't really be the one to tell you, go out and rush to buy it, because it has a lot of things you have to consider. And even for me, I do like it, but it's not, I think, something that I'm going to be performing at all my gigs. I'm going to be performing it maybe here and there, but I don't think that is going to be a mainstay in my gigging show and my walk-around performances. But it is a good product, which is why if I were to rate it, I give it an 8 on 10. It's something that is good, it's something that works, it's something that has good reactions, but it's not necessarily something that's going to last in my carrying case for life, such as other effects have and will. So it's hard for me to say definitely go out and buy it, and it's hard for me to say don't go out and buy it. I think that, you know, my review came out 2 weeks after all the drama. The drama probably already stopped, which means that you already have an opinion on this. So after watching my review of it, you can probably get a more definitive opinion of whether this is for you or not. So I'm really gonna leave the door open to you of whether this is a buy or not. Up to you. I'm giving it an 8 on 10, and I give it the most information I can. So that is all for me. This was a really hefty and long review, really hefty and long, but I hope it brought you some information that you much needed on this, whether to buy it or not. I hope you liked, enjoyed. If you still have questions, make sure to leave them down below. If not, like, subscribe, and I'll see everyone in my next video. Bye bye, and have a good weekend.